up, guys? Welcome back to Firearms and Fellowship. We've got our Monday night firearms chat, and we're going to pump it up because we're going to talk about slide action rifles tonight. I'm happy to be joined by Nibs from Walnut and Steel and Mike Baker from Texas Gun Collectors Association. How we doing, fellas?
I'm doing. Oh, hold on. Somebody mute my other computer here. I'm doing great.
Doing good, Jeremy. I always enjoy visiting with you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got a good show lined up tonight. Slide action shotguns and rifles. Nibs, we were talking right before the show. Really, the first viable rimfire was the 1890, and then shotgun. What was it? A Spencer, basically.
Something like that, Spencer. Yeah.
Yeah, we're not big shotgun guys here, so y'all put it in the comments if you are. Let us correct us on that. We got a couple shotguns to talk about tonight, and then a few different 22 slide action. Now, I'm a big fan of slide actions. They're very reliable. With 22s, almost all of them will feed short, long, and long rifle. And versus a lever gun where you're kind of moving the back end of the rifle, with a slide action, you can stay on target a little bit better. At least that's been my experience. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, that's why I ended up just liking them so much, because you can just a lot of the 22s you can't slam fire like you can with a Winchester 1897 or whatever, but
yeah, there's a few of them out there that you can slam fire. I don't think any of the newer ones you probably can, but
yeah, I've read that that's really not great for the action, so I don't recommend it, but I don't try it too much.
Yeah, probably not. Well, let's kick it off with a shotgun. Let me get this pulled up here real quick. And Marshmut says 1890 is one cartridge only. Yeah. I know a lot of the early slide actions, they would either be in long rifle or short only. Of course, you had a lot of the gallery guns. They were just 22 short only. And interesting, I was reading earlier today, one that we're going to talk about in a little bit, the one of Nibs, the Savage 1903, which is a really cool gun. So hang around and check that out. You could actually get a round counter, a mechanical round counter, as an option on that rifle, which is just wild. Let me pull up some pictures here and we'll get this kicked off.
Hey, Josh, how you doing?
Nibs and I have been threatening to do a pump action video for about 4 months now?
Yeah, at least, yeah.
It's been on the docket, so it's good that we're going to knock it out tonight. All right, first one up. This is one of Mike's shotguns. Mike, why don't you give us the backstory on this gun, and I'll pull up some of the historical data on it.
Okay. Yeah, it's just a field grade Winchester Model 12 and 16 gauge full choke. And of course, back in those days, whatever choke you had was what you had, unless you put a cuts compensator or you just bought a different shotgun. They didn't really have interchangeable barrels, so to speak, or interchangeable chokes. This was my dad's shotgun, and I went with him many a time hunting dove and quail. And he would actually hunt quail with full choke. He just let them get on out there a ways, before he cut down on them.
Yeah.
But he hunted pheasant with it, and he bought it back in the 50s at Montgomery Ward's. And he took really good care of it for a gun that's been hunted with. It's probably as clean a gun as you'll ever see.
That's a super clean one. And it hadn't been refinished.
Has not.
Wow. Yeah, that's in really nice shape. full choke 16 gauge. You don't see a lot of 16 gauge anymore.
No, the people that like 16 gauges just love them. But like everything else, in my opinion, everything else that you compromise, kind of like the 41 Magnum, the theory is that you get more shot, less recoil, but what you get is the same recoil and less shot.
Yeah. Well, neat thing about the 12, that's a takedown gun, right? So at the front, I don't know if we'll have a picture on yours. Let's see if we can find it.
Yeah, that's the 62 there, I think.
Yeah, kind of on the front of the magazine tube, there's that little bar there. You just kind of
Right.
and,
Yeah, it's got a little pin or a button that you push to one side, and
The local shop that I do a lot of business with in town here just got a 16 gauge pump action. I don't remember if it's a Model 12 or not. I was actually considering going back and picking that up, put it on layaway. I've always wanted to get a 16 gauge. I've never had a 16 gauge.
I
well, you
haven't.
can't have this one.
No, that's all right. I'll get my own.
You'd have to dig it out of the ground to get it, huh?
Yeah, that's Dad had a lot of guns, but there was just a handful of guns that I remember him actually shooting, hunting with, and that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I'll always hang on to them.
Now you brought that up, though, I'm gonna have to go back over there tomorrow. I'm working in town tomorrow too, so they actually did sell. I had a couple pistols in there on layaway or on consignment, so they did sell a couple of them for me. So
well, now you got some extra money.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I've been waiting for him to. The owner of the store said that a friend of his family member was bedridden and he had a really high end air gun collection, and I've been kind of waiting for that to come in, but that hasn't showed up yet. So. Some really nice old German Springers and stuff that they had on the list. I was really waiting to kind of see if I would spend my money on that, but
I was gonna pull up just some basic information about that 12. I did a little bit of course, I buried it. Let me find it here.
Well, back in the day, I mean, a Winchester Model 12 was pretty much the go-to shotgun. I mean, that was what everybody aspired to have.
Who was the designer on that one?
That's what I'm looking at right here. Thomas Crossley Johnson.
Okay.
Model 12 is improved upon Browning's Model 1897, incorporating an internal hammer and refined action. It was Winchester's first hammerless pump shotgun. So, yeah, kind of a big deal, really. It was launched as a premium shotgun, and it dominated the market until the 870 was introduced in 1950. So,
yeah, this is I love this shotgun, and I'll always keep it. But this is the field gray. They actually had one they called a Black Diamond. It had a solid rib on it, and either a brass or ivory front sight. Had hand checkering on the stock, and of course had premium wood, and they were beautiful shotguns. But you don't see too many of them. When you do, they're still expensive.
Yeah. I see quite a few of the 12s come through the local getting spot. I've never picked one up. Of course, I've got a 42, which we'll talk about here.
Oh yeah, those are cool little guns. Have you ever seen a Black Diamond?
I haven't.
I wouldn't know one if it hit me in the head.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, you would if you saw it.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to check it out.
Jeremy, I'll send you a message tomorrow, let you know if that one's still there, and let you know what it was, the 16 gauge that's at the
right.
Yeah. Marshmut says 16s carried like a 20, hit like a 12. Okay.
That was the plan.
Yeah. Chris said, I shot one once. I was probably 10. Yeah. I think that's about how old I was when I first shot a shotgun. Of course, Pop would take me duck hunting, and here in Oklahoma, duck hunting means it's cold, it's
And
wet,
wet.
it's windy, you're hauling decoys. It's just, yeah, I never got into duck hunting.
He ruined you, didn't he?
Oh yeah, big time on that. Of course, we got some buddy of mine's got a bunch of property out west of town, and some boys come up from Louisiana a couple times a year. And man, I think he said they bagged like 300 duck on the last.
Ooh.
So yeah, they're big time into it. They come up and they'll do a big crawfish boil, and that's kind of the trade off. But yeah, they're into
Well,
it.
it's kind of like deer hunting, you know, the shooting is the fun and then the work starts.
Right. Yeah. Milsurp's in the house tonight. Good to have you, buddy. And he
said on the chat there, he says, I got the patents, you know me.
yeah. So anybody that doesn't know, Milsurp does really in-depth videos on firearms, and he used to pull patents that were germane to that particular firearm and show them on his channel. Well, YouTube decided that would show people how to make firearms. And,
Give me a break.
yeah, it's a totally ridiculous deal. I thought it was one of the neatest parts of his channel, and hopefully they'll listen back up on that at some point. But if you haven't checked out Milsurp, go. Well, first subscribe to my channel and Nibs, and then go check out Milsurp.
Yeah.
But let's see. What is this? Living in SWVA 1965. Okay. Winchester Model 37 single shot 16 that belonged to my granddad was my rabbit gun when I was in my teens. Yeah.
There you go.
That sounds a lot more like that rings a bell a lot more than that. For as far as that model that's in the store that I'm going to go look at tomorrow is a 37, if I remember right.
Okay.
Yeah, just a single shot break open. Yeah, those are.
No, this is a pump action. I thought that 37 was a pump. That 37 is not.
Oh, well, maybe. Now there's doesn't Ithaca have a 37 that's a pump?
Yeah, they had an Ithaca 37 there, but that was a 12 gauge. But the other one's a 16 gauge, and I'm pretty sure that one was a Winchester, but I don't remember. I looked at it and I thought I liked it, but like I said, I was kind of holding my money back for that air gun collection, but
Yeah.
I may have to go look at it now again tomorrow.
So a couple notes on patents while we're talking about that. There were a couple patents that mattered. One was filed by T.C. Johnson for the Model 12's internal hammer pump action mechanism, detailing improvements in the action smoothness and reliability. And it draws on patents from the 1893, the 1890, and 1897. Let's see what else. And the wear adjustment in the takedown guns. So they would have that ring that would tighten them up. So I thought that was a Browning thing, but it says here T.C. Johnson.
I know one of them. I think the
plan. So don't hold a gun to my head on these guys.
Yeah. Well, that was an automatic, but I think the A5 it had a ring that you could, if you put it in backwards, the shotgun would kick the fire out of you.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Let me get down here to
one of the other fellows at my work's a A5 collector. He's got a gaggle of them.
Yeah. A5s and the Remington Model 11s, they were pretty much the same gun.
Right. I'm not sure if he's got anything other than the A5s, but I know he's got a handful of the A5s. We talk about guns and he mentions his stuff. I mention my stuff. And
Yeah. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Living in SWVA says Winchester 37 was a break action.
Okay. Well, so
Yeah.
it's still a mystery. I'll let you. I'll have to go figure.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, he's got it.
Yeah. Well,
37 was a single shot break open, and the 37 Ithaca was the pump.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe that's because I know they did have an Ithaca there as well, but it wasn't the 16 gauge. So maybe that's what I.
Those are nice shotguns.
Yeah.
At 37, that's a good shotgun.
Yeah. Deer Slayer.
That's ejects out the bottom.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, so it doesn't matter if you're right-handed or left-handed. You know, if you're shooting like a Remington 870 or something and you're left-handed, it's always throwing empties out across your face, but that Ithaca throws them straight down.
Was it the early Remington Sportmaster 22 that ejected down through the bottom?
I don't know.
So I have a
Browning. Browning that did. I can't remember.
Yeah, I have a Browning SA. What's it? A Browning SA 22.
Yeah. I think there was a Remington version of it too. He was kind of dancing with two partners at the time. Debbie, have you had any experience with single shot Rex Merrill Sportsman with interchangeable barrels?
No,
I haven't. I've had some shotguns with interchangeable barrels.
The only really kind of interchangeable thing that I had, and I still have quite a few of them. I sold a few of the barrels, but the H&R Handy rifle, H&R Topper, and all those were all kind of interchangeable. You want to make sure if you're using a rifle barrel, you want to make sure you use it with a frame that was originally a rifle frame. You don't want to, even though it will fit on there, you don't want to put that rifle barrel onto a shotgun frame because they're not heavy enough.
I've seen some people shooting some 50 out of shotgun barrels before. Not advisable.
I used to have a 45-70 barrel and a 444 Marlin barrel for that H&R Handy rifle. And I'll tell you what, after 4 or 5 shots, you want to go home and take a nap.
Oh my God!
I bet.
It's only like a 5 or 6 pound rifle, and shooting a full tilt 45-70 out of it, it's way worse than the 3.5 inch Magnum 12 gauge slug for sure.
We'll grab a couple more and then we'll move on to the 42. Marshmutt says all 12s were takedown. Winchester made a 25 that was a solid frame. And Milsert, TC Johnson invented the first semi-auto rifle. Right on. Yeah, TC Johnson was a lot of people don't know the name, but he was one of the guys that contributed a lot during that time frame. Remington 241. Yeah, that's what it was. So let me pull up.
So Milsert Garage, question for him, was the 1903 a TC Johnson?
I don't think it was.
Because he refers to the TC Johnson patent. Then the next comment, he refers to the Winchester model 1903, which I have one of those.
Yeah, I don't think the 1903 was a Johnson deal.
Okay.
I'll pull it up here in a minute. I collated the information on that.
Yeah.
This is the Winchester 42, which was just a scaled down version of the Model 12, mechanically basically identical. It's a 410 only. So the Model 12 was not offered in 410. So they came out with a little bit smaller rifle, and they didn't make a whole lot of these. I think 160 something thousand of them. There's a guy I saw on YouTube who has a whole store just full of these 42s.
Man, he's cornered the market, huh?
Yeah, there must be hundreds of them in there.
Wow.
I should have grabbed the link to that video because it's pretty neat. But yeah, just a sweet shotgun. It's just buttery smooth, points well. We were talking before we got on live about, sometimes you just pick a firearm up and it just feels like it points itself. The superimposed is the one we were talking about earlier. This is one too that it's. I think it has more to do with balance than anything. Just a really balanced shotgun that points well. This one's not a safe queen. Probably an 80% gun, but a lot of fun to shoot.
Good looking.
Boy, that pump handle looks like a Model 61 pump handle.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, we're going to talk about the 61 here shortly. So I'd say we got quite a few firearms covered tonight. So buckle up, grab a cold snack and some popcorn because we're going to get into it.
So Jeremy, so Milsurp did say, so the 1903 I was talking about is not the Savage 1903 that we're going to talk about in a little while.
Okay.
It was actually the Winchester 1903.
Oh,
which was Winchester's first semi-automatic
yeah,
rimfire.
Yeah.
And he did say that it was a Johnson patent. It was based on the Johnson patent.
Yeah, that one was. Yeah. I've got one of those in the safe. I need to.
I've
never been able to get it to run right.
You do have a 1903?
Yeah.
Do you have any the ammo for it?
No. Wait, is it the 19? Mine's the 22 long rifle version.
That's the Model 60.
60. Yeah. Basically the same rifle. It's just 22 long rifle.
Right. I have both of those. Yeah. So the 1903 uses a proprietary ammo called Winchester 22 Auto.
Yeah.
And it was like long obsolete. You could buy old Winchester or DuPont ammo that was like hit or miss, but it was like $100 a box, or more. But about 10 years ago or so now, Aguila actually did a production run of it. They still list it as a current production item in their catalog. I don't know if they're still making it or not. I still see it on shelves and everything. I've got 2 or 3 bricks of it. About once a year, I take the old girl out and shoot a box of the ammo up. And
yeah, I got a few firearms that are like that. It's hard to get ammo for them now, but there's still some people out there making it. They just they might only do it every 3 years or something like that.
So one thing I've actually been sending emails to Aguila for like years now. I don't even know how many years. Been sending emails to Aguila for years saying they should make a production run of 32 rimfire. Yeah. And I can't even tell you how many scores of 32 rimfire, single shots and break barrels and stuff that I've passed up, old Stevens and stuff, just because nothing's available to shoot out of it. But they said that they have that in their plan to do. The last time I talked to them, they actually answered me back and said they have it in their plan to do, but they're so backed up with keeping up with their current production stuff. But they made the 1903 Winchester ammo, the 22 semi-auto ammo, and that's the only gun that's ever been chambered for that round. And they're selling that like hotcakes, I guess. It's selling pretty good. And they also made the 5mm Magnum.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say that. Yeah.
The
5mm.
There's only like two guns that were ever chambered for that. There's so many more guns that are 32, rimfire.
The 5mm is kind of a neat round.
Yeah.
I wish it had a little bit more time to get off the ground. But that
was another gun. I've seen hundreds of them for sale in the past and never bought one. And then as soon as Aguila comes out with their production run of the stuff, I haven't found another one for sale. So
Nathan says I really want a Stevens visible loader.
Yeah, I've got 2 of those and they actually run really well. They were called the miserable loader because there's some adjustments you got to do to them and you got to put them together right. You can put them together wrong and they will not run. They're finicky. But if you put them together right and adjust them just right, they will run really nice.
Yeah.
I've got 2 of them. They both came to me as actually literally in plastic bags.
Wow.
And I had to put them together, and I got them real cheap, but I got both of them running, and they both work really well. So
Debbie says T.C. Johnson's father was a bank president. Edwin Pugsley was his boss at Winchester. Okay. Good deal. Let me blast through a few of these here, and we'll get on to the next one. Had a chance to pick up a solid 42 for $850, but dumbly let it slip by. Yeah, they're pricey. I don't remember what I paid for mine. It was probably in that ballpark, though. And they're not getting any cheaper. I can guarantee you that. I was kind of glad I got mine out today because it's been sitting in the safe for a while, and it needed a little bit of attention. We put a penny on it.
yeah, I missed a Winchester 52B like that a couple weeks ago. Still shooting myself in the foot for that, but
Yeah.
I picked it up and looked at it, and I said, well, I'm going to sleep on it. And I called the store back the next day, put it on layaway, and it was gone.
Debbie said when they made when Agilia made the 5mm, they bought 4,000 rounds. Yeah.
Wow.
That's what you got to do. I've got some kind of hard to get stuff now, and when I go to the gun shows, if I see it, I'll pick it up. Because even if you're not going to shoot it, if you ever sell that gun, it's good to have some ammo to go with it.
Yeah. I found a deal like that when 17 HMR first came out. I bought a Savage Model 93, and I found a retailer online, and I don't know if they realized what they were doing, but they had 17 HMR ammo for $7 a box. And I bought 3,000 rounds of Hornady. I bought 3,000 rounds of the Winchester, and I bought 3,000 rounds of the CCI.
Yeah.
All of they're all made in the same plant, but I mean, I bought 3,000 rounds of each one of them. I'm still shooting it today. I haven't bought another. That was like 13 years ago, or 17 HMR's been out a lot longer than that. It was real early, but
yeah, ammo's a good investment. It'll at least track inflation, if not better.
Yeah, I was at Academy today, and they were full to the brim with ammo. I don't think I've seen their shelves that full of ammo in a long time.
Really? Well, next up, we've got this is Mike's Winchester 60. You said it's a 62A?
Yes.
Now, this is an early rifle, and Nibs and I had a question about this, but go ahead and give us kind of the backstory. This is a good backstory on this rifle.
Well, it belonged to my dad, and my dad was born in 1935. I got a Remington 510 single shot 22 for my 10th birthday, and once I got proficient with that, then he let me shoot his 62A, and I really liked it because that 510, you had to
one shot at a time,
reload a cartridge every time, and it automatically went on to safety. So then you had to remember to take the safety off. And
yeah,
but it was sure a good beginner gun. But anyway, I love this little rifle. My dad was born in 25. I believe this rifle was made in 37, so he would have been about 12 when he got it. Anyway, it's been in the family for as long as I can remember, and it's no telling how many hundreds and hundreds of 50-round boxes that I've shot through that thing. And it's still a little tack driver.
Yeah. So we were talking about that. He showed me the picture beforehand, and I was kind of wondering about that crescent buttstock. So that's original on there?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm by no means an expert, but I kind of thought those ones were straight.
Well, I've never seen another one that had the crescent butt plate, but it's a steel butt plate.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not plastic.
Because I have a 62. It's not a 62A, and mine's a straight one. So
Well, I think the fact that his dad bought it new,
Yeah.
and
No, it's
so, but yeah, the 62 was available early with a metal butt plate,
yeah.
and then they switched over to the plastic or Bakelite or whatever it is. Um, but
That's
yeah,
what was on my list.
I'd never
I love-
seen one with a crescent butt plate, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I've got a better picture of just the butt plate, but
Okay, let me see if I can get to it. Here's kind of some of the stampings. Yeah, there's a
There it
good
is.
look at it.
Yeah.
That's in pretty good shape for being a rifle that's been used and actually, in the hands of a teenager.
yeah, even a pre-teener.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
interesting.
surprised it doesn't have some notches in it,
Right?
They did come out with the 62, in the 30s, but they continued making the 1890 all the way up into like the late 40s.
Right.
Right alongside that one. So it was
But
that.
I tell you, in my part of the country, almost every 1890 that you pick up is 22 WMR.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, you hardly ever see. Every once in a while, you'll see a 22 short, but you hardly ever see a 22 long rifle. And I don't know if that's because when people get them, they just keep them, or what the deal is. But
Well, so I think it's not WMR, it's 22, the Winchester Special, which was it's the same basic size as
Is
a
it
22
WRS or WSR?
Uh,
I think it was
I think
I was
WRS.
thinking it was WMR, but maybe it's not.
so WMR is the Winchester Magnum rifle, which is the 22 Magnum.
Okay.
That didn't come out until 1969 or
All
1959.
right.
59, sorry.
Yeah, they had
But they had the Winchester Special, 22 Winchester Special, which was the same diameter and the same bullet shape. It wasn't the heeled bullet like
Right.
a 22 long rifle.
I just know it's a cartridge that you can't hardly find. There's
Right.
the butt stock.
Yeah, CCI
somebody
did
put
a
it
run
down
of
in
that
the
stuff
comments.
years
I think
ago, and I bought a couple bricks of it. But
I think it's WSR or something. Yeah, WRS. Yeah, that's neat with the crescent butt plate on
yeah,
there.
my 1890 is a 22 short, but it was made in like the mid 40s.
Yeah.
But the 62s are pretty cool.
I
have a
I love-
Rossi 62 as well.
I love the
And
six.
it's a little takedown. It's you just turn that big screw on the side of the action there, and buttstock comes off of it.
Yeah.
Rossi
Yeah.
62 is almost a perfect copy of the Winchester 62. Like some of the parts will actually swap over between the two of them.
Right.
Yeah, let's see here. The early rifles, 32 to 35, had a flat, uncrowned muzzle. Later ones featured a crowned muzzle. Let's see what else. The 62 evolved from the 1890, which was kind of the bearer of pump rifles, rimfire rifles.
Yeah.
Designed
I
by
always loved that the 90s because they had that octagon barrel on them.
yeah,
It really
Of course,
looked good.
that's a Browning design. Later the 1906, and then the 62.
Yeah.
Let's see. Launched under Winchester President T.G. Bennett, which if you guys study this stuff much, you'll see his name come up quite a bit. Pretty big name back then. Into production 1958. A lot of the patents, of course, go back to the 1890 and the 1906. One thing about that 62 is, like you'll see on a Remington Model 34, is it feeds the round in directly in line with the bore. so you don't get any deformation of the bullet itself. You know, a lot of rifles will kind of
Hit a ramp and go up. Yeah.
angle, and it really does make a difference. There's been studies about it. You know, a little bit of deformation on the bullet will change the flight of the bullet. So that's one neat thing about the 62, and makes them more accurate. So,
Did you say the Remington 34 as well?
yeah, so the 34 has sort of that elevator mechanism
the
in
34
it.
and the 341.
Yeah, right. Yeah, same mechanism. That was when DuPont took over, they kind of went to having all the same style stocks and trigger guards and all that stuff. So the mechanism stayed the same in the 34 over to the 341. It was just the furniture basically is all that changed. But yeah, that's a really cool design. I'm drawing a blank on who designed that right now. Somebody will tell me. But yeah, the 62.
I'm sure Millstrip knows.
Yeah. Hey, Nibs.
Yes.
Why don't we turn to the Model 61, because that's kind of a good segue off of the 62. Very kind of similar rifle. Well,
let me get to my
side. They went to a side ejection with the 61, and I had a 61 a few years ago. It got away from me. Really nice rifles. Similar to the Remington 121 that we'll talk about here in a little bit.
Right. Let me. So I'm going to share this first picture with you here. I meant to send these over, but I just never got a chance to.
I'm glad you're running them over there, brother. Let me grab a couple comments here real quick. Yeah. Mike of Mini Mikes, good to see you here tonight. Probably had some leftover 1890s butt stocks that they used. Yeah, that's what Nibs and I were talking about. They would bolt right up, so that's very, very possible that they just kind of carried those over and then went to the new design with the.
I'm sure Colt wasn't the only one that used leftover parts.
Yeah. Well, you see, I mean, gosh, we see that in all the firearms makers. And that's what keeps us up at night studying this stuff is why does this one have this? And, you know, it's not supposed to have this. And
so my buddy Chris Lang actually wants to know why there's no more crescent buttstocks. And my guess is probably they take too much work to fit.
It
takes a true craftsman to fit one of those
on. Well, yeah, and if it's a metal crescent butt plate compared to a injection molded, that they can knock out 10,000 of them in one night, you know.
Well, and I can tell you, me and the wife were out shooting the my Winchester 92 the other day. It's got a crescent butt plate on it, and old spindly guy like me, if you don't get that metal butt plate in the right spot, it will crack
on the collarbone.
So, you know, having that flat butt plate up against your shoulders is just more comfortable.
Yeah. I've got a 73 Winchester, but it's just in 3840, so it doesn't have any recoil, but it's got that old crescent butt plate on it.
1890s were 22 WRF.
That's it. Winchester
WRF. Yeah. That's it.
Yep. Came out in 59.
CCI did a run of that stuff back in, I don't know, 20 years ago or something. And you can still find it here and there.
Those plates were too cool. Yeah. Had to get rid of them. They were too cool.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. The 42s called everybody's sweetheart because everybody could pick it up and shoot it, you know. It wasn't a 12 gauge. It was going
to
knock your 12-year-old butt on the ground. The wife could pick it up. Kind of like what I was talking about the 92. That's in 2520. That was a really popular farm gun because everybody in the house could pick it up and shoot it. Let's see here. Well, I didn't know that. The early Mini 14s had a crescent butt plate. Huh.
I never knew that either.
Yeah, that's a new one on me. It is. We're doing well, Ronald. Thank you for joining us this evening, brother. We're here to pump it up with some slide action guns.
Yeah.
The play on words there.
Yeah, they need to start making. I agree. We got
Well, the Italians figured that out.
Yeah. So the Japanese.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, they figured that out.
I'll tell you that the Japanese Winchester copy of the 73, man, that was a beautiful rifle.
I can't tell the difference. I've owned several of those Moroku guns, and
yeah,
that they're
just beautiful. Yeah, the fit and finish, superb.
It is. All right, Nibs, take us off into 61 land.
Yeah, I got one up there queued up for you. You just got to.
Oh yeah, that's right. I got to
shoot it up on the screen for me.
There you go.
So this one is this is actually the second model 61 that I ever bought. The first one we'll show you in a minute, but this is the older of the two I have now. This one is actually a 1932 production, and it was, you can tell it was an early production by the actual pump handle is very short on this one. At least it's short compared to the other one I'll show you in a minute. But these are really nice. This one is all original. It does have a little bit of freckling on the receiver in the barrel, but still really clean, pretty clean. Great shooting little gun.
It's got nice wood on it, man.
Yeah.
Really nice wood.
If you look at it up close, you can see a little bit of freckling on the receiver and stuff, but it's really clean for a gun that's, pushing up towards 100 years old. So
yeah,
really pretty nice. Let's see, what else do I think I have a close up of the
how's the action on that? Is it pretty smooth?
So that it's almost not worth complaining about because let me share this one first and then I'll talk about it more. So this is the close up of the pump handle, but these 61s are so smooth, they hold like 15 rounds, and you got to make sure you count, because when you're pumping away and shooting, when you get to that last one and it ejects the last one out and you close it, you can't tell that you didn't, like on some of the other pump action guns and lever actions, you can feel when the round gets loaded.
Yeah.
When you get to the last one, you can feel that nothing got loaded. These ones are so smooth that you don't feel when that last one, when you load an empty chamber. So you're firing on an empty chamber.
Yeah.
Which, if there was a thing to complain about, I guess that would be the one thing I think I could complain about.
Man, you nitpick. Good.
I know.
Millstirp says Winchester Model 61 patent. There you go, kids. If you want to go dig in the patents, that's where it be.
So now I'll share up with you guys this other one here, and it's going to look like
that's got a little bit smaller forestock on it. It looks like.
So this, yeah. So that 61 that I just shared with you, it was only like the first year of production, maybe first 2 years of production. They had that short pump handle.
Yeah.
And then now this one I'm going to share with you is a later production one.
You see that on several different brands where they started out with a smaller forestock and then it got bigger. I'm not sure.
So the Winchester model 1906, they had a smaller pump handle to start off with, and they also had one called the 1906 Expert, which I have an Expert as well, and that one had like a smooth pump handle with just two little rings at each end of it.
Okay.
But, if you
You
want to
know,
throw that next
y'all
picture,
bring that up, and I've noticed on that little 62A, it
yeah,
has a real short pup handle or forearm on it,
yeah,
and most of the ones that I see, even the reproductions, the Rossies, and those, they all have a pump handle that's twice as long
right,
as,
right.
as what's on mine.
Yeah. Yeah,
So I got
I'm
my
not sure why that is, but you do see that the early
yeah.
ones just had a smaller and like
All you needed, I guess.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure. Like the later the the Remingtons post DuPont, they have big old beefy four stocks on them.
So I got another one up there ready for you. There you go. So now this one is actually the first 61 I ever bought, and you can see how much longer the pump handle is
Yeah,
than that one, the first one. This one was actually made in 1952, which is still not, I mean, they made these up into the 60s.
right.
Um, I think I think they discontinued them in the early 60s because they actually did make these in Winchester, the 22 Magnum. And if you find one of those, you better buy it, especially if it's a reasonable price, because
Hmm.
they're more scarce than hen's teeth. And
I think
also,
I saw one at Tulsa a couple years ago.
yeah. And also, if you ever see one with scope grooves on the receiver, the little dovetail scope grooves, buy that too, because those are scarcer than hen's teeth as well. Now, this one that I have here is drilled and tapped on top of this receiver, and it absolutely looks like a factory job. And I read a few places where the factory did special order drill and tap for scope mounts on these, and I've had a couple people tell me that I'm full of baloney and it's a piece of garbage because it's drilled and tapped. But
Back then, if you had enough money, I think you could get just about anything you wanted.
yeah, there's two holes towards the back of the receiver and two holes towards the front of the receiver, and they're absolutely beautifully done and filled with plugs and look like they've never been out of the gun. So I'm pretty sure it's factory, but
I didn't, Nibs. I didn't pull. I should have pulled some information on the 61. I didn't. Do you know who designed that?
I sure don't.
Okay.
I don't know that much about them except for when they were made. So
that one slipped through. So
that's okay.
Milsurp will probably help us out.
Let's see. He does Winchester Mount 61 inventors: Frank Burton, Carmel Mount, Henry Crockett.
Yeah, there we go.
Now that is not easy info to find. 61 is a bit of a mystery.
Okay. Milsurp, did you get that out of the Winchester book? I don't have the Winchester book, so I couldn't pull a lot of stuff on that. I had to rely on the AI.
He just knows that stuff off the top of his head.
Yeah. Our spot says Remington 121 wins the longest handle award. Yeah, we're fixing to talk about the 121. So for sure, it does have a long handle. And we got Kentucky Rimfire and Hobbies in the house. Good to see you, brother. Yeah, go after you get done subscribing to Nibs and my channel, you go over there and you subscribe to his. That's how that works. So real quick, I want to stop and Mike, Texas Gun Collectors Association has a show coming up this weekend that I'm going to be going to, and I'm super excited about checking that out. You want to tell everybody a little bit about Texas Gun Collectors Association and a little bit about the show that's coming up this weekend?
Yeah, Texas Gun Collectors is one of the premium associations, not just for Texas, but for all over the United States. We have members, and we're going to be having our show the 24th, 25th, 26th, I believe it is, at Denton Embassy Suites here in Texas, and it's an awesome show. We only do vintage and collectible items, no black guns, no modern stuff, no knickknacks. It's a true collector's show, and we have John Eckert. He's one of the premium Luger collectors. Steve.
That collection is unreal.
Oh, he comes and puts a display of probably 50 Lugers, and every time he comes and displays, it's a different 50. I mean, they're stock, they're snail drums, they're prototype, one of a kind. It's amazing.
Yeah,
it is amazing.
You sent me a picture of that, and I was just like, wow.
And that's his little display.
TGCA, at their shows, you're going to see stuff that you won't see anywhere else, because these guys, they only bring it out for certain gun shows, and TGCA is one of them. I mean,
correct.
If you're into wheel guns, you're going to see stuff that you just won't see anywhere else.
Well, this show will be featuring a parade of factory engraved Colts. So you'll see more than likely, some one-of-a-kind guns that, are from anywhere from the 1800s up to the 1970s that are factory engraved, more than likely gold inlay, carved pearl, carved ivory. These will be some fantastic firearms that, like Jeremy said, they come out very rarely. Do they come out from the collector's safe and go on out for viewing, and then they go right back in.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to coming down there this weekend. It's going to be a great show. I haven't been before. This is going to be my first time, but I've seen pictures, and I can tell you that it's a fabulous, fabulous show. And TGCA is one of the few gun clubs that can actually put on their own show. I don't think a lot of people realize what it takes to put on a show and how much it costs and all that. You guys are like, what, one of three maybe that can put on your own show?
Right. Colt Collectors has one show a year. We have 2 shows a year. And Smith & Wesson has 1 show a year.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's about it, I guess, really, that I can think of. Now, there's some like Ohio gun collectors, Colorado gun collectors. But they're 1 show a year.
Yeah.
So,
and,
but we're very proud of what we've built up, and we're excited for people to come visit. If you're military, if you're law enforcement, first responders, you get in free.
What about retired military?
There you go. We have Texas Rangers keeping everything under control, so we don't worry about any problems. And you just couldn't find a better group of people, Now, George might argue with me, but
yeah, you might. Yeah, you might. But no, TGCA has a great group of members that are generous, and that's what helps keep your club going and allows you guys to do all these wonderful things. And Texas Gun Collectors Association is not just for people in Texas. You guys have members all over. So go check them out. They put out 2 magazines a year, and just like Remington Society, which you guys know I talked about, they put out a great magazine. It's not like what you buy off of the magazine rack. It's not some flimsy pages. These are beautiful pictures, a lot of them taken by Rock Island, and wonderful, wonderful articles. These guys that write articles for these magazines are not just Joe Blow. They are dyed in the wool. Whatever they're writing about, I guarantee you they live and breathe that stuff. And so you're going to find information in those magazines that you're not going to find anywhere else. And you guys have a special magazine coming out this year for your 75th, right?
Right. Well, we have our Fine and Antique Arms Annual, which, you'd think with the name annual, it would be a yearly thing, but the last one we made was 50 years ago. So it's 360 pages. With your membership, you get the book free. And membership $60, the book $70. But with the membership, you get the book for nothing. Then you also get the two magazines, the Texas Gun Collector, one in the spring, one in the fall. They normally run about 80 pages, but this is our 75th anniversary, so we kind of dress the magazine up. It's 112 pages, and we've got a special 75th anniversary logo on the cover. So
yeah, I've seen it. It is absolutely that's worth the price of admission. Just that right there. So guys, go check it out. I mean, for $60, it's well worth it. Even if you only get the magazines and the annual, that's worth it right there. But being part of the community is another thing too. So
right,
go check them out.
Yeah,
sure.
pgca.org. We'll get you to the website. So
yeah,
Jeremy, I'm gonna jump off, but I'm gonna look forward to seeing you in Denton this weekend. And have a safe trip.
All right, brother. Thanks for coming on tonight and sharing a couple of your rifles with us. And we'd love to have you anytime, brother.
Okay. Take care. Take care, Nebs.
Bye. I have a shameless plug too, Jeremy.
Yeah, go on. Come on, bring it.
so the following weekend, if you're anywhere near Carlisle, Pennsylvania, there will be the second annual Central PA Airgun Show. And where'd you go?
I'm here.
Okay. Central PA Airgun Show, Carlisle, PA, at the Carlisle Volunteer Fire Department, I think it is. And that'll be a lot of fun. I plan on being down there. I'm going to have a very, very neat collection of very antique air guns, ranging anywhere from 1894 all the way up to about 1970.
Nice. And, is this your first display, or have you done this before?
I haven't gone out to. I did attend an air gun show last year, but I didn't really I brought a few guns with me and showed them off, but I haven't put together a display like this before. So yeah, this will be something new for me. I got rented a table there. Really don't intend on selling anything, but everything has a price. So
yeah, for sure.
There's only a couple of guns that I can't sell because they don't belong to me. So the Winchester, or not Winchester, Daisy. I have a Daisy first edition, first model that I've done a couple of videos on my channel. Actually belongs to one of the old fellas from the gun club. He brought it in for me to repair for him, and I was able to fabricate the parts that it was missing and actually get it running. And that's pretty cool. So that gun was made, best I can tell, around 1894. That first model of Daisy BB gun.
Here's an interesting question, Nibs. Marshmut wants to know, just wondering, what year do you draw the line on what is considered vintage?
So there's been a lot of conjecture about stuff like that. There's vintage wines that were made in the 1990s, and but I mean, when I started collecting guns, people were considering something before 1970 vintage. I really consider a lot of the stuff. So vintage really means that it was just something that was of good quality, more of anything, back when things were made with decent quality. I mean, I just bought an Air Arms TX 200 air rifle, and that thing is brand new, but it's vintage to me because it is like quality like you don't see anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it kind of depends on your definition of it. I kind of agree with you as far as quality,
Yeah.
the craftsmanship of it. I'm just trying to think kind of like in my collection where I would say this is vintage. Um, it's tough because like I've got some older Marlins
Yeah.
that I think are higher quality than what has been made after that. So
Sure.
something maybe even in the 80s was probably higher quality. I think those type guns are becoming vintage
Yeah.
to new shooters, like the 25, for example. Um, but yeah, I would say probably in my mind, um, I think it probably for most people is kind of like around when they're born is when vintage starts.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
like my aunt shoots is West German built.
Yeah.
Um,
So
I would
we know
kind of
it's before
consider that
1989. So
right. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yes. I was born around 1989. But yeah, that's I would think I think it's probably different for everybody, based on your age, what you consider vintage.
yeah.
There's a lot of young guys that um, think that cars that were built in the '80s are like, you know,
Yeah.
they're the '65 Mustangs that we grew up with. That's what they
My
want.
first car was a 71 Satellite. So
Yeah. So I think it really depends on your age, what you
yeah.
consider vintage. So that's a great question though.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Really good question. Um,
I have a
Ooh, I love her.
Remington model 541 540X that was
Yeah,
made in like 1974. That thing is like a great gun, and it's totally vintage.
yeah. I got a brochure around here for that somewhere.
Yeah.
I think I might have pulled that out last time we talked. Let's get through some of these comments because we sure appreciate everybody showing
Yeah.
up tonight. And that's what one of the best parts of having these live streams is just talking to you guys. I mean,
Yeah.
who wants to listen to us? What do we know? Yeah, glad to see everyone. Kentucky, I hope you get some rest and feeling better and get some pep in your step tomorrow. Chris Lang says 1950 and under. Well, we know how old Chris is now.
I definitely have that covered as far in my collection too. So that's
Good point, Nibs. CZ 452 certainly qualifies as recent vintage. Yeah, I could get along with that. I could get along with that.
I
Those are
have two
great.
CZ 452s, and they are every bit as good as an old Winchester 52 or 75 or
I just recently got on the CZ bandwagon. I've got a couple 455s. Now every bolt action rimfire I have is judged against my Anschutz 1422, so it's a high bar.
right. Yeah.
But I like the 455. That's mine's the American. It's a short barrel,
Yeah.
no iron sights. I really like that rifle for sure. Well, let's jump into. Let's see.
What do you got next?
Let me get over here, and I think we're gonna get into some Remingtons next.
All right.
You've got a really cool Savage.
Yeah.
I want to save that for the last because I
Okay.
think that's the most interesting rifle we're going to talk about tonight.
All right.
Um,
You gonna talk about your 572 next,
well,
or you got a 121, right?
121, yeah. So
Okay.
Remington had was it Fieldmaster, right?
Yeah.
Originally it was the 121, and then later after DuPont took over, they did a redesign for cost control, and they came out with the 572. But we're going to talk about the 121 first. So let me get that up here. So yeah, this is a Remington 121, milled steel receiver, still, built the old way. It's a takedown rifle, and I think somebody was talking about the long forearm. This definitely has a long forearm on it. Now this particular rifle is unique, and the only reason I bought it really is there's a look at the forearm, is the scope mount that it has on it. It's a wild mount. But yeah,
I've never really taken them apart side by side, but they look so much like the Model 12. I just don't know. I don't know how much internally they are alike, but one day I'll probably do that.
Nope, I got a little bit out of order here. So this is the scope that's on it. It's a old Weaver 330.
Okay.
Now the Weaver kind of changed the scope game altogether. I mean, they made before Weaver, if you wanted a decent scope, you had to buy something out of Germany, and it would cost a lot of money. Bill Weaver opened up a place in Texas and started making these scopes. I think they started with the 330. I did a video on this a while back, but I don't remember all the details. But yeah, this has a 330 on it. Yeah, but what's interesting about this one is the scope mount. And let me get to it here. You can see the front of the scope mount. It's ahead of the dovetail slot. So
is that wrapped completely around the barrel?
Yeah. Well, not all the way around, but
okay.
Yeah, most of the way. So they would have had to drill and tap to mount this, and you can see that the scope kind of slides into that tube. Now, this particular scope mount was called the Alaskan, and man, it's hard to find a lot of information on these. They're called Stith. That's the company, and
Stith.
This particular mount was called the Alaskan. So that tube sits kind of back in that mount tube a little bit, kind of shields it maybe from weather. I'm not sure. Like I say, there's just not a whole lot of information out there.
So the Stith name, I do have a couple of Stith scopes. They're not anything like that, but they were actually made in New York City.
Okay.
Yeah. At least the ones that I have are marked from New York City.
I don't think they were a big company, but they made some unique stuff.
So one scope I have just says Stith on it, and then the other one says Stith, and then it says Cole Morgan, Kool Morgan.
Okay.
So I don't know if that was a partnership or something, but yeah.
Yeah, it might have been. Now
I have a couple of videos that I did a couple years ago that were just titled of "Geeking Out to My Scope."
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
The first one was actually the smaller stuff, like the one you're showing there.
Mm-hmm.
I've probably got 50 or 60, different kinds of scopes that are the smaller little 4 and 6 powers like that. Just tons of them. And then the other one was on my big long, Inertals and Feckers and Lymans and all that stuff. But I really love these little scopes like that.
Yeah, these 330, the Weavers, they were a game changer.
Yeah.
They put scopes in the hands of hunters in America. And
honestly, these ones are pretty easy to repair. You can change you can repair the crosshairs on them. Usually the glass is pretty good on them. They do get a little dirty if you have if the gun sits in a corner for a while, that top lens will get covered with gunk and you'll think it's ruined, but you can take that lens right out of there and clean it with some. I actually use. Oh, where are they at? I actually use these same cloths that I use to clean my glasses with.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You'd be surprised how dirty they get.
yeah.
I've cleaned some scopes up, and it's like, wow, you wouldn't think it was much once you clean it up. And these old steel tube scopes, you can take apart and basically rebuild them. I know Vintage Optics, if you got the cash to do it, you can send one in and they'll rebuild it and put nitrogen in it and all that stuff. I'm not affiliated with them at all. I just read that online, but yeah, no, these old steel tube scopes are kind of becoming collectible, and I look for them when I'm at the getting spot, and if they're cheap enough, I'll
especially them big long ones. Holy smokes!
Oh yeah,
yeah,
you got some of those big dogs with the springs on them and all that. Let's see. Marshmut says, do either of you have a Browning trombone or any of the Marlin pumps? I don't. I got to shoot I think it was a Marlin 20. That's what seems to rattle my brain, is a Marlin Model 20.
So I've had a Marlin 20. I sold that one because it was in pretty rough shape. I do currently have a Marlin 20A.
Yeah,
which is really nice.
It was one of those. I loved that thing. I borrowed it from a buddy. He let me make a video about it. So there's a video about that. Neat rifle. A lot of fun to shoot.
I'd love to have a Browning trombone. I've never ran across one though. I've never seen one out in the wild, so to speak.
Yeah, I haven't either. So yeah, the cool thing about this stiff scope mount, the Fieldmaster was a takedown gun. So the scope mount is takedown. And you'll look, there's above those 3 screws, there's one big screw. And if you undo that, that releases the back end of that scope mount, and then you can take the rifle apart. And then hopefully when you put it all back together, it's, all in line. I don't know if it actually would be, but that's probably the idea behind it. But yeah, just a really unique mount. And, over 20 plus years, I've just never seen another one. I've just never seen one at a gun show or.
It's a new one for me.
Yeah. So if you guys have seen one, put it in the comments, because it's kind of a unique bird. Let's jump into some of these comments here. Milsurp says, goes for a lot of bad mouthing on this model when that part.
You mentioned something about when you take it apart, a part of the bolt will fall out and get lost. Right. And if you're not paying attention, then it'll go away.
Okay, you did a video on it.
Yeah.
So cool. Josh Miller, Weaver is good. Yeah. I was in Tulsa a couple of years ago, and I was walking out, and I spotted I think it was a Marlin. It was a Marlin bolt action. I can't remember, maybe a 25 or something. But it had a K2 Weaver on top of it. And he wanted, I don't remember, like $450 for it. And it was just too much for all of it together. But I got to talking to him, and that's the neat thing about gun shows. You get to talking to these guys and just talking about rifles. And he was like, well, if you want it, $250. And I was like, well, shoot, the scope is worth something. Yeah. And it was a clean old gun. So
was it a Weaver 2.5?
Yeah, that's what it was, 2.5. Yeah. Nice scope.
Well, I wasn't going to say there wasn't a Weaver 2, but I wasn't aware of one. So I think they started at 2.5. if there was a 2, I needed to go start looking for that one because I got all the other ones.
Yeah, they all get mixed up. But yeah, that's those little steel tube scopes they're worth looking at. I think they're going to be a lot more collectible going forward.
Yeah, the
Because
Weaver
people want to put
K3.
a period correct scope on their rifle. Like I've got a Winchester 72, and I've got an old Lyman scope to put on it, but it takes I think it's like 7/8" rings, which are like hen's teeth. But it would match the rifle. You wouldn't want to put a new scope on that old vintage gun like we were talking about earlier.
I've got a Winchester Model 43 chambered in 218B, and I got a Weaver K6 on that. That's just a great shooting gun. It's never going to shoot single hole groups at 100 yards, but it's just so much fun to shoot. It'll shoot, inch and a half groups at 100 yards, and that's a minute a squirrel, minute a fox.
Yeah.
Minute a coyote.
Southern Rifle says really nice pieces. Yes, sir. Thank you. Cool. And Marshma, Remington beefed up the Model 12 to a 121 and the 24 into the 241 in the late 30s so they could shoot the high velocity rounds. Yeah, that's right. And like if you look back, we've talked about like the old gill guns.
Yeah.
They have the slots on the receiver, and that was so that old dirty powder could get out of there. That was before they had kind of refined the 22 long rifle round. And these guns kind of had to be designed around the cartridges that were available at the time. So, it's almost like the technology of the rifle was ahead of the cartridge technology.
So one thing that I learned early on in my vintage 22 collecting is when you're shooting an older 22, and I say older, probably 1950s and older, I was told by a couple of old timers that you really never want to shoot anything but standard velocity or slower in them older rifles. And there are some guns that are capable of withstanding high velocity ammo from back before that time, but the high velocity stuff didn't come out until the 50s and 60s. So,
well, I think
to a great extent,
Browning was kind of famous for, I don't remember the exact quote, but they would come up with the design and then make it 3 times stronger than it needed to be. So like my 92, which is chambered in 25-20. It can handle a heck of a lot more than what a 25-20 round will produce. So, yeah, for sure. Let me get back over here. Let's see. I think there might be, just to show everybody kind of some of the stampings on that.
And there you can see that super, 8-foot long pump handle.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a mile long. It is.
I do agree. I'm guessing that's probably the longest one I got too, is a 121.
Yeah.
I thought the 61 was long until I got that 121.
I couldn't really get a good picture of the entire stampings on the scope, but
it's tough because it rolls all the way around.
Yeah. And Remingtons, they do their barrel codes on the left in front of the receiver.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things over like at Remington Society of America. That's one of the number one questions they get. It's like, how old is my rifle? Yeah. That's how you tell.
Now, what's the date code equate to on yours?
I've got a sheet up here.
Oh, I've got it on my phone. Hold on. Is it MX or what's that?
That's a AM and then it's got an X that was probably sent back to the factory
Okay.
or
Yep.
before it
Right.
left.
So I actually have a picture in my my favorites here
Yeah,
for
I keep this sheet in the office.
A
Excuse
is
me.
March, and
Yeah.
M is 1965. No, that can't be right. Right? Is that right?
Yeah, 65.
Okay.
Yeah. Now this rifle, I actually refinished this rifle when I got it. Man, it was not this one. That's a 572. Sorry. Yeah, that seems late for a
I know. I was thinking that was
one.
because I know because they came out with the 572 in the 50s.
Oh, you know what? I think this is off the 572. I've got my
Oh,
pictures out of order. Yeah, that's
all
what
right.
it is.
Okay.
Yeah, the 572 we'll talk about here in a minute.
Yeah.
That was built in 65. I put the 121 away. I'd have to go get it to look at the.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to show that one on camera.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, the
I
the young people would be after us.
I put my 572 up there if you want to show that one first.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, so this is the unique 572.
572 featherweight in buckskin tan. This one was made in 1958, and they also made one that had it was called Crow Wing Black,
Yeah.
which had completely blacked out with regular kind of regular looking wood, and then they had one that was called Teal Wing Blue.
Yeah, that's the
Which was really odd looking blue color, but of the three, this one that I have is the highest production, but it's still a very rare gun.
Yeah.
But the black one was the next lower production, and then the blue one was like almost very little produced. I don't know actual production numbers, but
yeah, and there I'd have to look in the Remington book, but I think there was a couple other ones. They just made a few of that are out
this
there.
one
You're not going to see them. But yeah, if you ever see a blue one, boy, and it's
right,
attainable.
Couple of friends that I had early on in collecting from Facebook and stuff that actually did have all three of them and stuff, and I was always jealous.
Yeah, Marshbutt says, wasn't the world record whitetail killed with a 25-20? Yeah, it was. It took him. I think it took him a couple days to find it. They found it in a riverbed. But yeah, I mean, 25-20, if you put it in the right spot, perfectly capable of taking down a whitetail.
I have a Savage Model 23A. Is it 23A or 23C? That's chambered in 25-20.
Yeah, I like 25-20. It's just a fun round to shoot. Doesn't kick a lot, and I want to reload for it.
Yeah, I've got the reloading for that.
I just bought the dies the other day. I was in a pawn shop and they had some.
So this 572 here, the thing that makes it really unique is it's got the barrel's aluminum with a steel rifled liner. The receiver's aluminum and the butt plate is aluminum. And Jeremy actually looked it up because I wasn't sure what the numbers were, but this gun weighs a little over a pound less than a standard 572.
Yeah, what'd they say? 4.5 pounds?
Yeah. 4 pounds even, I think it was what it said.
And we were talking before we got on. Ruger just came out with their carbon fiber 1022,
Yeah.
And I was at the local shop and they handed that thing to me and I was like, whoa, it felt like air in my hands. It was so
Yeah.
light. 3.5 pounds, which is just crazy. And you put a small silencer, you can get I think it's a 16 or 16.5 inch barrel on that.
Yeah.
Put a small silencer on it so it looks all balanced. And man, what a fun little gun to shoot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to do some trading and get my hands on one of those. I can't add anymore. Otherwise, I'd have to do that deal where you take two guns out,
Yeah.
and you come in with two guns and kind of do the old switcheroo. Let me pull up
Yeah. Pull up yours.
the regular version. Let's see. There we go. So yeah, that's the 572. So this would have come out after kind of the DuPont merger. Big thing with that was, cost savings. They wanted the same type stocks on all the rifles. They wanted to share parts. It's the whole Master series. The Target Master, the Game Master, the Match Master, the Field Master. It's all about the Master. But this was one of them, and they also they kind of shared the same shape as the shotguns that they were putting
the
out.
870.
Yeah, the 870. So that was part of it.
They also have several centerfire pump action rifles that look very similar too.
Yeah, they did.
I've never had one of those. I've thought about getting one over the years. I've seen them around, but they were always a little more than I wanted to spend. I was always more interested in another 22. So
yeah, well, that's me. I like shooting 22s, and I've got some big rifles that I can shoot when I need to. But they went from a milled receiver to kind of the aluminum type, and there's a lot of cost cutting, but they were still good rifles. I mean, that whole 40s, 50s, 60s era of Remingtons, they were still really good rifles. And I think that goes back to Remington started out as a barrel maker, and they've just always been good at making barrels. And that has a lot to do with it, I think.
So I know I know these will run shorts, longs, and long rifles. Do these have that, like, I think they called it a floating chamber in like the 552 for the
I don't think the 572 does.
Okay.
I
wasn't sure how that worked.
It's interesting because I love the Speedmaster, the 552, because it's a semi-auto that will shoot just about anything, short, long rifle. But I borrowed a buddy's 550 -1. There was a 550 and a 550-1. The only difference was the 550-1 just had one extractor, but they ran on the same system. The 550 I found would run lighter loads than the 552. So like those really, really the Calibres, it would cycle those.
Wow.
So I'd like to get my hands on a 550. The other difference is the 552 is a two-piece stock, where the 550 is a single-piece stock. And I just like the 550 stock better. I think it's the same system, but I like the 550 better. So, just a few more pictures of this. Now, this was a gun that I refinished. When I got it, it had, I don't know what that coating was that they put on the rifles at that time, but it kind of peeled off, and I couldn't save it. And I don't like to refinish guns if I don't have to.
No, but if
I
they're
can just
ugly,
clean them up. if I can clean them up and make them better, that's what I'll do. But this one was kind of just past that point, and it was a rifle that I wanted to keep. So I scraped it off with a card scraper and just used a Danish oil finish on it. And I think it turned out pretty good. You know, when you do rifles like this, the main thing that you have to watch is your sanding, especially around, you know, where the wood meets the metal.
Yeah.
I always stay shy of sanding there because if you sand too much, everybody in the world's going to notice. But this one turned out pretty good. So, what do we got left, Nibs?
Let me see here.
Let me grab a few of these comments while you're looking at that. I'm thinking.
So the two that I have left that I think are interesting is the Savage 1903, and then I've got that Premier.
Okay. Let's grab a few of these comments and then we'll jump into those for sure. Yeah. Service Venator. Hi, Nibs. Hi, all. Thank you for joining us, brother.
Yeah. He says he looked at a Remington 121 and a Model 12 at the gun show the past weekend. Yeah, that's not a terrible asking price. I mean, for today's market,
kind of what they're going for.
Yeah.
Marshmut Remington used the Master suffix in the 30s and 40s. The 241 was the Speedmaster. 121 was Field Master.
Yeah.
15 bolt action and Master
my model. Let's see, what's my model 37 is a Match Master.
Yeah.
And then my 513T is I think Target Master, if I remember right.
No, Target Master was the 510.
Okay.
513.
Maybe the 513 is a Match Master too. I don't know.
Yeah, it might have been.
Score Master.
My first rifle was a 510 Target Master.
Yeah.
Single shot.
Because I have I actually have 3 513Ts. And then I have 137.
Yeah. They're good rifles. All those old Master series, Teen series, whatever you want to call them, they're good rifles.
The 513T that I like the most is the ugliest one of them all, but it was a military surplus trainer made around 1941. And it has the look of a rifle that was dragged through a foxhole.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool.
You got a picture you want to throw up?
Oh, yeah. So let's see. What do we want to look at next? Let me see here.
Living says, I have a Remington 41P Target Master.
Yeah, I have one of those. That is an awesome rifle. So you said you want to save the Savage for last, so I'll open up the Premier here.
Okay. I'm interested to see this one. I'm not familiar with it at all.
Yeah. And I may forget some of the history, but let me share this with you guys. 1 second.
Guys, if you're not subscribed to Walnut and Steel, go over there and check him out. And like, share, and subscribe. And
I think this is it. Yep, that's it. Okay. So this one.
If you want to reach out to me, that's the email. If you want to send some pictures, or if you want to come on the show sometime and talk about something you got.
Yeah, if you're on any of my videos, watching any of my videos, I put my email address down in the description of every one of my videos. So if anybody ever has a question about anything, they can get a hold of me. I've got people asking me to fix their air guns all the time.
Yeah.
I'm kind of backed up right now, so I'm referring
people. If you want to reach out to either one of us, just reach out to either one of us. Because Nibs and I talk occasionally.
Yeah. So the picture I got queued up there for you, Jeremy, is so this is literally the only markings on it, it says up on the barrel, it says Premier Patent, and then it has a serial number on the wrist. And
Okay.
this gun was made by Mossberg in the late 20s for Sears and Roebuck.
Okay.
There was a very short-lived collaboration with Mossberg and Sears and Roebuck, and then they dropped Mossberg for whatever reason. I don't know what the reason was, and they started buying their guns from Savage, and it was called the Premier Trailblazer. Now this one's just a Premier. The Savage model that came after that was the Premier Trailblazer, and it was modeled after their model 1925, Savage model 1925.
It
But
kind of looks like a Colt Lightning, doesn't it?
yeah, I mean, this one does look a lot like the old Savages too. I have a Savage 1914 and a Savage 1929, Model 29, and a Savage 1903 that we'll look at. It doesn't look anything like the 1903, but this looks very much like the 1914. So I don't know if Savage or Mossberg actually copied the Savage, so maybe the patent ran out on the 1914, and they.
I think there was a little bit of shenanigans going on back then, you know.
Yeah, because you put the 1914 next to this one, and they look very much alike. So, oh, you can see my mouse on the screen. I didn't know you could.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I just look. So I've got the live stream going on my other computer over here, so I can watch the side chat there. But yeah, this is a pretty cool gun. So best I can tell, this was made around probably 1929, 1928. Very early Mossberg production. They actually had their own line of guns. They called this, from their own production, a Model M. And I've never actually seen a Model M actually in person. I've seen pictures of them, obviously, but I've never actually seen a Mossberg Model M in person. So someday maybe I'll get one. It's on my short list of ones that I want to get.
Yeah.
Colt Lightning and a Marlin Model 1891 and a Mossberg Model M. Those are three that I can think of right off the top of my head that I want to get.
I got a shout out Service Venator. I like the Tebow jersey on the door. Yeah, man, that was fun times in Bronco country. So, like to see another Tebow guy out there. Sure, good times. Yeah, that's one I've just never seen, never run across.
Yeah, it's very interesting. Let me see here if I got the top stamp of that. I'll share that with you guys real quick, and then we'll move on to the Savage. If do you have another one you wanted to show?
What's that?
Did you have another one you wanted to show?
I think I showed everything. Okay.
Let me share
as far
this.
as firearms, there's one other thing I'll probably show or share with everybody this evening. But
so I just queued up the barrel stamp just to show everybody what that looks like.
Okay, let me grab a couple of these. Marshmutt said, I had no idea Mossberg made a 22 pump.
Yeah, they actually made a lever action back then too. They had a lever action, and they also made a lever action later on in like the 60s too.
Man, you look at all the different variations and
Yeah.
stuff that Mossberg made. It's just wild.
Yeah,
just absolutely wild. We need to do a Mossberg show one of these days, because
I've got one whole cabinet that's completely full of Mossberg 22s.
Yeah, me and Mossberg 22s don't get along.
Oh no,
I've had I don't know how many of them that they won't run right. Yeah. Usually it's the semi-autos.
So I've got pretty much just about every tube feed Mossberg bolt action that you could ever buy. The only one I don't have is the lettered one, like we were talking about, the Model M. They had a lettered bolt action. I don't think they had a lettered bolt action tube feed. Now that I think of it, they had a single shot and a mag fed, but they didn't have a tube feed. I don't think. I'll have to look it up now that I.
Yeah, I think all I've got right now is a T-bolt, and which is what 152 T-bolt, and then
142, 142A.
142, yeah,
Yeah,
and then 46M, which is a pretty interesting rifle. It's got really cool sights on it. So, yeah, we may have to talk about that. Scotrod. Is that how we say it? Scotrod or Scottrod? He's been in the chat before, so we're glad to have him back. Have a Remington 572 and a Savage Model 29 with full octagon barrel.
Nice.
Both are super fun to plink with.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I have both of those, and they're awesome.
For sure. Marshmut Nibs, did Mossberg make any center fire bolt actions in the 40s and 50s?
I don't think so.
What?
They're shotguns and 22s only that I know of.
I can't think of any.
Yeah, I don't know.
Milsert, Mossberg 22s, love CCI standard velocity. Somebody posted earlier they were shooting some Agilia out of a semi-auto, and they were like, I don't think it likes it. I was like, does any semi-auto like Agilia? I think not. Yeah, we get you, buddy. He says, like Scott Rod. Okay, we got it. Thank you for being here with us, brother. We enjoy it. All right, what we got up next here?
I just got a picture of the Premiere there. Like I said, it just says Premiere and Patent.
Okay.
Nothing else.
So who made that?
Mossberg.
Mossberg?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's all it said was Premiere.
Yeah. It's like I said, they only did it for like maybe a year or two at the most.
Yeah.
But
those are the rifles that are hard to buy because you just don't know what they're worth. You know?
Yeah.
It's hard to put a price on them. We were talking about one earlier, like most people don't know about them. So yeah, it's hard to value things like that. Let's see here. I think we'll do a few more nibs. We're running up on 2, so
yeah. Let's do the Savage, and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Scott Rod, do you know of anyone else that makes a tang-mounted peep for the Savage 29? Was it? Not
I'll
William.
have to look. I don't. I've got a book over here that's.
And you almost need to just buy used old stock for that whole thing. Nibs has got the book on it, so.
So I'm not going to take the time to look right now, but if you get this book.
Yeah.
So this book actually has a section where it just talks about all the old sites, but then it also has a section where it talks about the old guns and what sites will fit onto the old guns.
Yeah.
So this is made by Nick Strobel.
Right. Yeah.
Old
yeah.
guns.
He's kind of the guy. For that.
Yeah. He's also got one of his old gun scopes too.
Right.
If you're
Yeah. And that's
scope,
that's a interesting point to make for a lot of this stuff. Man, you got to go buy a book. You know, if you really want to get into the details of some of this stuff, you got to go buy. There was a guy I was talking to the other day who he just came out with a book, and I'm sorry, I remember I am slipping his name right now, but he came out with a rimfire cartridge book in America, and he covers all the rimfire cartridges. I'll make a post about it if you guys are interested in that. This is something he'd been working on for 20 plus years, and it's not a cheap book. I think it's like $140, but there's not going to be many of them. It'll be kind of like the Remington rimfire book. You know, there's 500 of them, and that's it. So if you're really into that, I'll put a link to that tomorrow, and I'm gonna have him on the channel. I've already talked to him about that. He's gonna come on and kind of talk about the story, about how he got into that, and how the book came about. Pretty cool story.
So I actually did just kind of look it up real quick. So that the 29, it lists the 2 or 3 sights that would normally come on that gun, but then it says as options, anything that would have fit the 1903, which is what we're going to show next, would also fit that. And then this whole section from here down to here are optional sights for the 1903.
Can you hold it up real close so he can just maybe get a screenshot of it?
I don't know.
We'll try.
But a whole list of Lymans, Savages, Lymans, marbles, all sorts of different stuff.
Yeah, Milsurp says Mossberg 472 PCA in 3030.
How long ago was that?
I lost he's talking about the 810A. My Marlin Model 60 runs a Agilia 38 grain hollow point for hunting very well. Remington made, and that's one of those, like I've got Agilia in my closet. I shoot it. It's cheap. If I want to get tight groups, it's not what I grab. I would grab, some Ely or Gecko or CCI or but if you just want to go out and shoot cans, man, Agilia is fine.
I'll tell you what, I have a high standard Supermatic citation that I shoot for bullseye pistol, and that gun absolutely loves the Aguila Super Extra.
Yeah, that's funny how certain firearms are like that.
I shot my best score ever with that this past winter in one round, 255 out of a 300. So
yeah,
that's offhand shooting at 50 feet.
I can't hit the broadside of a barn at 50 feet, Nibs. All right, let's see what you got here, brother. Woo! Look at that thing. Now, this is a wild rifle right here.
So this was...
I'm going to pull up some information while you're talking about this.
Yeah, Savage's first endeavor into a pump-action rifle. If you notice, it is a magazine-fed rifle. And but it still has the pump handle. Nice crescent butt plate back here.
Can you think of another pump that was magazine fed?
So there's 2 more that I know of.
I was just now trying to think.
So there was another one that actually came out about the same time as this one, that was made by a company out of Louisiana called Fabiger. It's Febiger. And I actually had one of those. It was missing some parts, and I could never find the parts, so I ended up selling it. But it was a Fabiger #1. Looked a lot like this, but it was internally it was very different. But Savage found out that they were making one that looked like theirs, and they sued them for patent infringement. And because they were such a tiny little company, they couldn't they couldn't afford lawyers or anything, so they basically went out of business. And that whole company was bought by a company out of New York called Baker Arms, and I'm sure you've probably heard that name before.
Yeah.
And they tried to rebrand it as a Baker, but they never got that off the ground. Baker made a bunch of shotguns and stuff, but the other one that had a mag fed was, I believe, BSA out of England. And I've only seen those in pictures as well. I've never seen one of those in person, but that's the only other 22 that I know of, pump action, that was magazine fed.
Yeah. So this is a hammerless design.
Yeah.
I'm going to look and see, is there a hammer in there?
There is. Yeah.
So like my Colt 1903, the pocket hammerless.
Yeah.
There's a hammer in there. You just can't see it. And that was kind of a marketing ploy that they did.
When the bolt slides back, it actually pushes the hammer down inside the receiver, and then when you slide it back forward, the hammer can come back up and whack the back of the bolt.
Yeah. Short, long, and long rifle.
Yeah.
Half
one
pistol.
thing, if you ever do get one of these, make sure you guard this little piece right here with your life. The magazine.
Oh, yeah.
They're worth way more than the gun.
I've got a couple rifles that I think the magazine is probably worth as much as the rifle.
If you want to buy one of these that are the original, that are in actual working condition, you're probably going to spend $300 or $400.
Yeah, and you may have to fiddle with it.
Yeah.
To get it right. Let's see. I'll just read this, kind of the origins of the 1903. That was Savage's response to the success of John Browning's Winchester 1890.
Yeah.
They wanted to differentiate themselves with the hammerless design, detachable box magazine. And I read somewhere today while I was doing some research on this, they felt like the box magazine made it more accurate. I'm not sure how that would be, but that was something I read today. Let's see. Same year as the Wright brothers' first flight, which is
so this came out in 1903.
Yeah.
And this one is actually a first year of production per the serial number.
Okay.
I was able to research that and figure out this one is a first year.
Yeah. Takedown design.
Yeah. Takedown. Magazine fed guns were pretty new at that time. There wasn't a lot of even box mags or anything.
Yeah.
That was very new thing.
Let's see what else.
Most repeating rifles were tube fed.
So it says here that the Indian head logo used by Savage sparked some debates over its origin, with claims of a 1919 deal with Chief Lame Deer contested due to earlier logo uses.
This one doesn't have any logo on it anywhere.
Little side note. Discontinued in 1916 due to World War I production demands. They did start making it in 22, but then shifted to other models. There's a couple patents that they talk about. Let's see. Covers the 1903 slide action mechanism and the hammerless design with the detachable magazine. So that makes sense. And then some improvements to the box magazine. specifically its rib design to secure varying cartridge lengths. Okay, so that's interesting. That they were kind of part of being able to have a box fed magazine that could shoot, short, long, and long rifle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a lot of variations of the rifle. Standard model. There was early and late production. Let's see. Early rifles used magazines without the 1909 patent date. May show slight variations in bluing or stock finish. Later models standardized the rib magazine, designed for improved cartridge retention. There were some custom stocks. Of course, back then, if you called them up and asked them to make something for you, if you had enough money, they would do it. So that's where you get some of those unique models.
They did come out with I believe it was a model 1909 that was a very similar, but it was a straight stock with a no crescent in the butt. It was just a straight butt plate and a rounded, shorter barrel. And that also had a box magazine, but they called that the 1909.
Okay.
I've never seen one of those in person, but
Yeah,
I've read they exist.
I don't know how many of these type of rifles are made. Probably not many. I mean, yeah, Chris says, I've seen plenty of rifles that shoot Agilia just fine. Hillbilly, go check out his channel.
Yeah.
He's been running some in his Savage MK2 and getting pretty good results. Yeah, man, it's crazy. Every rifle, the one rifle I own that will shoot everything is my Anschutz. Did Noble make a mag-fed pump?
Yes.
Okay.
I had a Noble Model 235. I still have a Noble Model 33.
Okay.
And I have a Noble lever action too, and I don't remember the model of it off the top of my head, but Noble actually made a lever action. I have that still in my collection too. I sold the 235, but I still have the 33, and that one has a 10-ite stock, which is really cool.
Yeah. Right on. Savage Lee says, evening all. I love my Remington 7600. Yeah.
What what caliber is that in, Savage Lee?
Chris, a magazine that worked with short, long, and long rifle. We have trouble just getting modern 22s to run. Yeah, long rifle. Yeah. One of my favorite rifles that I picked up, I don't know, in the past couple of years was I think it was a Marlin 25, like a 7-round box fed magazine. Great trigger, shoots short, long rifle, and you can pick those up for a couple $100. I think the one I have is a Glenfield, but same kit and caboodle.
Yeah, the one that I have that it was my father's gun when he was a teenager, and I still have it. It's a Mossberg 146 BA. That's a tube feed bolt action. That one, I purposefully put a short, a long rifle, another long rifle, a short, and just mix them all up and put them all in there, and it'll cycle the whole thing like they're all the same.
We like to shoot shorts around here. Sometimes me and the wife will just sit on the porch, and chase a can across the yard, with some shorts. I don't know. I like rifles that can shoot shorts.
Yeah, that 146 BA will hold 30 shorts. Wow. It'll hold 19 long rifles.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, those long barrels, you know, they
Yeah.
have the long tubes with them. Nibs, is there anything that you bought, uh, you know, this month, product that, you know, and maybe you're not affiliated with them or anything, but anything that you want to share with people?
Uh, just just talk about that air gun show again
Yeah.
next Saturday, the May 3rd. But other than that, I got a
What's the location of that again?
Carlisle, PA.
Okay.
Um, I did just get a new scope from CV Life. It absolutely magnificent scope. It's they call it their Eagle Blaze. It's a 5 to 25 by 56,
Wow.
34 millimeter tube. Absolutely beautiful glass.
Is
It's
that
just
out of China?
it is. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some good glass coming out of
Yeah.
China
Yeah.
though.
They say it's Japanese glass, though. They actually says right in their literature that it's Japanese glass. But
Yeah.
man, this thing is clear, clear, clear. I haven't done a review on it yet, but I did have it out do some shooting over the weekend, and such a
Okay.
nice scope.
Speaking
And
of
it's
glass, I've never been a big wearer of sunglasses, but I do like to wear eye protection when I shoot. And I picked up a pair of these Oakleys. Um, they have a prism lens in them, and man, I'm gonna tell you right now, I was impressed by the clarity that you get from these. Again, I'm not affiliated with them at all, but if you need a good pair of shooting glasses, something that is not too dark, that's why I don't like wearing sunglasses when I'm shooting because they're usually dark. These are super super clear, and they're made for golf actually. So they were designed to be able to see a little tiny object out in a bunch of green. Um, you know, stop by the Cabela's or the Bass Pro Shops or
so I ask
whatever.
you, where would you pick those up at?
Yeah, yeah, Cabela's or Bass Pro if you want to go try them on. You
Yeah,
know, um, I can even wear them inside. They're not too dark. So that's the one thing I always like to share when I find something that I really like.
yeah.
I want to share it with everybody that is in the group and is watching. And that's one thing that I was kind of blown away by. But man, I think we probably ought to wrap it up. We're
Sounds
right
good.
at 2 hours. Like
Yeah,
I told you when we were talking about, I
that's
figured
great.
it was
Yeah,
probably gonna be a couple hours. But man, I'm glad we got to do it. Talk about some pump guns,
yeah, a lot of
some
fun,
slide actions,
cool
and
stuff.
appreciate you dropping in and sharing what you have. And we appreciate everybody in the comments for sharing.
Oh yeah,
We love to talk to you guys and hear what you have to say. Um, if you're not subscribed, please go subscribe to at Walnut and Steel and at Firearms and Fellowship. That really helps us out, guys.
yeah,
Only takes a second. Just hit the button. It makes a world of difference for us so that we can provide this content for you. We love to do it, but it takes a lot of time to gather everything up and do it for you. But uh, God bless you and your families. Nibs, thank you so much for spending the evening with me and
yeah.
talking about firearms. Love you, brother.
Lots of
And
fun. Yeah.
let's do it again.
All right. We'll see you again soon.
All right. Y'all have a good night. Take
Bye.
care.